You know, we always say you're stronger together.
That's our catchphrase.
Yes, it is. But I really think it's more than just our catchphrase. It's how we live our life. And this couple are a perfect example of being stronger together. They're parents, they're entrepreneurs, and they understand what it's like to live in close quarters together. And they are great examples of how to take the time and use it to God's glory. We want to welcome to the show the Davis family.
They're going to be coming up next on this episode of the Rich Relationship Podcast with Gil and Renee.
Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Rich Relationship Podcast with Gil
and Renee, where amazing things happen. Our goal is to help build, repair, and restore healthy relationships.
Our primary focus is on the marriage relationship. However, the topics are applicable to the relationships that we value most. Remember, we're stronger together.
Let's grow. Hey, fam. How are you guys doing? You guys all ready to share your love story?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. We are excited.
we appreciate you guys just hanging out with us for a little while just to share your love story. And we just love that you guys are on the show with us tonight. So why don't you guys just jump in and just start our audience out with just how did you guys meet and how did you get together? Just a little bit about your love story.
Well, you want to tell it?
You want me to tell it? You sure?
Let's hear both versions.
We always love to say, who's going to start?
Okay. All right. So we met in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in 11 years ago in Italy. So we was young, so I was clubbing at that time. There was a club that was called Crazy Bull, and that was like my go-to spot. And I was a heavy clubber. Like, I mean, I went Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Tuesday nights, because it was like,
are you a dancer or are you like a DJ?
Neither.
Oh, you just like the atmosphere, okay. But before you jump into that, how did you guys get to Italy, though? Just so our listeners know, how did you end up in? You are American, right?
Well, okay. I'm full black. Yeah. He's black and Italian.
Okay, so how did you met in Italy? Okay, got it.
Right, but my mother and her ex-husband he was military.
Okay,
so that's how we got over overseas. He was stationed overseas. His parents were on the government side of things. His dad was a retired military. His mom's Italian, so they went from the States to Italy a lot.
Okay, that's even better because I thought we were getting ready to let our audience know we just went international, y'all.
Yes, we did.
But kind of, sort of. But go ahead, Charles. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. Sorry about that. I just had to jump in there.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah. So my dad was also stationed there, you could say, as a civilian. And we were both dependents at the time. I was a clubber, so I went to the club a lot. And there was that one night, you happened to be there.
Yeah. Well, actually, what happened was we had already graduated high school, and my mom was a little strict. So, like, honestly and truthfully, we lied to go out. Me and my best friend.
Tisk.
It's okay. Tell the truth, girl. Tell the truth.
Yeah, it's okay.
Like, I mean, it's the truth. But like, we lied to go out. But I was I guess you say I was more of the designated person because in Italy you could drink as long as you could see over the bar.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
really? That's for real?
For real.
That's real. Like my brother was 13 at the time and he could drink.
Oh, wow.
So we had went out, but we had went out with some friends, and the friends that we had went out with were younger than me and my best friend. So I was like, don't want to drink tonight. I'm not going to try it tonight. So I was out with my friends, and then we got to the club. Now, mind you, this is my first time going to the club. So I guess the most I enjoyed it was with him because he ended up coming and dancing with me.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. He's a veteran.
I was a regular.
Yeah, he was a regular. So the night went on until like we needed a ride back. And one of my close friends that was like that was in the same unit as my stepfather at the time, he was like, oh yeah, I'll get us a ride. Overseas, that's a normal thing. That's normal. That's how close knit it is.
Right.
So that was a normal thing. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, I trust you. That's fine. Come to find out, it was Charles.
Oh, really? Wow, that's cool.
Come to find out, it was Charles. But right before it was Charles was also the guy that was being taken out of the club. Well, brought back in the club because he was trying to not pay for his drink.
He was a regular, so.
Let me back up real quick. Let me explain that situation.
Okay.
I don't want to go out like that. So when you go to the club in Crazy Bull, right, they give you, like, unlike like regular bars and clubs, you just go and you just open a tab and pay for your drink. Overseas, or at least in Italy, they give you this little like tab card that they stamp out, and you just hand them the card. They click it with like a little stamp, and then they give you your drink.
And you pay. And then you pay
when you walk out. You give them the ticket. They scan the ticket, and then boom, you get your charge.
Okay.
Well, if you lose that ticket, they charge you as if every stamp was clicked.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that's like 300 euros, which was about
$400.
About almost $400.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Yeah, so
he didn't want to pay that $400.
Yeah, I did not want to pay that $400 because I knew I didn't have $400 worth of drinks. So I tried the non, you could say
just say it.
The bad way. I tried to run away. I tried to take.
You didn't make the story better, babe.
But that's okay.
It didn't work out. So
okay.
The bouncer caught me. He brought me back in.
And me and my best friend, we were laughing. We was like, ha, ha, ha. Look at that guy trying to sneak out. And then that was when the guy came back and was like, oh, yeah, that's our ride. And I'm like,
oh boy. So what did that make you think, okay? What did that make you think about?
Okay, so at the time, I thought it was funny. And I was like, okay, he's cute, but he's a dork. And as we're walking out the door, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make light of the situation, pretend like I did. Because I didn't say anything about him getting, brought back in or anything. So I'm making light of the situation, and I'm like, okay, hey, can you come pick us up in the morning? Because I told y'all we had snuck out. Right. Well, we didn't sneak out, but we lied about where we were going. So we were off, and we were off base, and we needed a ride back. Mm-hmm. So I was like trying to be nice, and I was talking to him, and I had my phone, but I didn't have a charger. So I was like, can you come pick us up and take us back on base in the morning? He was like, yeah, I got you. Cool. I got to go to work at 10 o'clock in the morning anyways. So I was like, cool. Mind you, we left at 2, 3 in the morning. So he never answered my call. I called and called and called and called until my phone died. Me and my best friend walked back to base in the rain.
Oh, no.
So when he finally got up, he saw the messages. He was just like, hey, I'm sorry. I want to go out. Hey, I'm sorry. I want to take you out. And at first I was a little reluctant because I was like, you made me walk. The one night I decided, because my mom was very religious. So wearing shorts and stuff, too short wasn't it. But it was the one night that I had wore shorts and a halter. And I was like, oh yeah, I felt naked already. And I was already rained on. Oh. So I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you to take me anywhere. But I ended up giving in. Yeah,
she ended up giving in after a couple tries.
So Charles, when did you guys actually start thinking about making it more permanent? What was the transition like? I know this is the initial meeting, but what was it that made you take more interest? Okay.
Well, we started hanging out. So and we really became we was friends first, really.
For sure.
We got together and we realized once we was able to just go on walks, go get some ice cream
and talk.
Just sit in the car and just have conversation. That's what kind of got the ball rolling to make us okay, yeah, this is where I want. This is something. This is where we want to be at. Even though I started on the wrong foot, I think I finished strong. Pretty strong. So
how long did you guys date before you actually proposed?
I want to say a year. You proposed to me a year before. So just to be honest, backtrack a little bit, we got pregnant extremely early.
Okay.
So as we were becoming friends, we were also pregnant.
Okay.
A lot of stuff transpired before the proposal came.
Wow. So that accelerated things.
I mean, not really, because I will say the difference between a lot of people that used to give us advice I guess they thought like we were so head over heels with the idea of baby. We were really just working on us, like between the two of us. Like if we didn't work, that was fine. We were still going to co-parent. Like, but we were more headstrong on what Kaleka wanted, what Charles wanted. If that was fine, like we already knew when it came to the child, regardless of the child, we were gonna.
Yeah, we was on the same page.
Yeah, we was on the same page by the time not even by the time we just. I guess God put us in a space, oddly enough, to once we met each other, we knew what we wanted, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Kaleka, what made you actually, I know you guys kind of mentioned it, that you guys spent a lot of time talking and just kind of getting acquainted with each other. What would you say to some younger people about how important that is when it comes to getting to know each other as a couple, but also, you guys said, as individuals?
I guess I would say, like, take it slow, because I thank God for the time that we took. Like, we literally would be, like, every day together. We spent a lot of time together for one.
Yeah, we did a whole lot.
It was kind of, like, obsessive almost. But it was like, dang, like, what is he doing today? Or what is she doing today? Let's talk. Like, let's be together. Let's go on a walk. Are you having a good day? If you're not having a good day, we literally took time to get to know one another, like step by step, instead of being like, oh, I'm just so madly in love with you. Just want to see you. Like, it wasn't all of that. And
we took the time to enjoy the stuff that we both liked and we both had in common. Like, we both loved to eat. We was foodies. So like, going to a restaurant and we tried different spots, especially in Italy. Like, why not?
Oh, yeah.
So we went to different restaurants and ate and just, had conversation, walked, drove around, just enjoyed the scenery. Like, I think we took the time just to embrace each other rather than just...
Even during the bad times.
Yeah, even during the bad times, rather than just, just focus on, well, you're my girlfriend, I'm your boyfriend.
This is how it's supposed to be. That was one thing that we didn't do either. Like, it wasn't a particular way it had to be. I guess because we had so many people trying to give us an input because we got so pregnant. We got pregnant so quickly. Mm-hmm. It was more thinking of, okay, that's good, but what does he do that makes me annoyed? And how do I communicate this to him? Because all of this other stuff is going on. Like, we made a bubble for ourselves.
And Kaleka, so one of the things that I hear you both saying is that you made yourself and the relationship the priority. How did you know to do that?
Church. And he wasn't even a church person.
Yeah, at that time I wasn't really. I wasn't in the church all the time.
Right.
I believed in God and everything, but I wasn't that every Sunday in church. And for me, and my perspective was my priorities. I cared about her, and I knew what I wanted, so I focused my attention on what I want.
And that's a good point, Charles. And I want you to elaborate a little bit on that for guys, that you started out being a clubber, and then you met someone that you want to spend some time with. What would you say to that young man who was kind of reproducing what you had kind of started doing, but then you changed and shifted your priorities? What would you say to that young man about why that is important to make the relationship work?
Oh, yeah, that's huge. That's actually real huge, because I had to kind of take away the distractions, because I know when me and Kaleka started actually dating and being girlfriend and boyfriend, I stopped clubbing like that. I dropped it almost completely. I think I went couple more times, but like I could count on my hands how many times I went after that. It's huge. You just got to know your priorities. You got to know your responsibility. And the fact that I know when we became pregnant, that was a big thing too.
And when you said that, that's great that you recognize that it was the priority and you changed your focus and shifted. So if you remember back when you were actually still going to the club that one or two times, did it kind of lose some of its luster?
Yes. Like, it didn't feel the same. It wasn't the same at all. Going in there, the same feeling I got pre being with Kaleka versus at post Kaleka, after being with Kaleka, it wasn't the same feeling. It's kind of like when you eat something for so long, and then one day you taste it and it just tastes nasty. It just had a bad taste in my mouth. So
Well, I want to pick your brain a little bit, Charles, because I was never a club person. I never liked it. But would you say that your desire to go to the club was because you were looking for something?
No, my desire to go to the club actually was just to have fun. So when I left Fayetteville, North Carolina, because that's where I'm originally from, and got brought over to Italy, at first I didn't want to go. I was a freshman year in college, and my parents were like, I'm taking this job and you're coming with us because you're not really even taking this college thing serious.
Right.
Looking back on it, I understand why they did it.
Right.
But at the time, I didn't want to do it. So when I got over there, I was kind of in this mind space, like, I don't want to be here. I'm not really feeling this. So when I met some friends, got a job, and met a couple people that wanted to go out, I just wanted to get out, clear my mind, just have fun. Really, that's the whole reason I even was going to the club, because before then, I wasn't a clubber. I didn't become a clubber till I got to Italy.
I asked that question because I think sometimes people don't realize that, Gil makes this statement. It says, when I was empty. I think that we have a generation of people who do things and they don't know why they do it. And even though you may not have felt like, you were looking for something, but it's like when you met Kaleka, you were able to stop your behavior so fast. So it leads me to believe from the outside looking in that even though that you didn't realize that's what you were looking for, because God created us to want human connection and relationship, but that when that space was filled, that appetite, like you said, was gone. And so just for people who don't realize it, sometimes there's things that we do and we don't know why we do it. And until we stop and really think about it really hard, we may never really realize it. And so it's good to see how your relationship with Kay has really shifted the trajectory of your life as your family, as a husband, and as a man.
And we're talking to Kaleka and Charles Davis, and we're going to ask them a little bit more about after they had gotten married and they were going to be new parents. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit next after this brief intermission.
Gil and Renee Beavers' over 30-year relationship is the genesis for the Rich Relationship Podcast, which is designed to empower individuals with the tools, principles, and the community needed to unpack ourselves, our past, and our preconceived notions associated with relationships.
Let's get empty and grow together so that our lives will be filled with love and healthy, rich relationships. Now let's go into our show.
So we are actually enjoying this conversation. I always love
you guys are amazing.
I always love hearing stories about how people got started and how they met and all those things. And you guys had a little bit different dynamic. You mentioned, Kaleka, that you guys were going to be new parents. But you also had a stronger support system, it sounded like. And you said something before, Charles was talking a little bit on that last break about you had a lot of other conversations that were happening, a lot of people giving you advice and things like that. How did you guys started separating from the distant support and identifying how you and Charles wanted to be as parents and growing up? Because you mentioned co-parenting, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't think about. What were some of the things that you guys were kind of challenged with or thinking about during that time of pregnancy?
I think a lot of it derived from our past, but even individually from our past, but mostly it came from our parents. Our parents were not seeing eye to eye at all when it came to each other, nor when it came eye to like either one of us. So we had to think like, okay, it kind of forced us into that predicament of what Kaleka want, what Charles want, not what my mom want, not what his mom want, not what his dad want, not what they got going on, not what Kaleka friends want, not what Charles friends want, but what Kaleka and Charles want to do, even past the argument. Because we argued a lot in the beginning of our relationship, but I probably would say we argued the most in the beginning of our relationship. But even through those arguments, we always realized at the end that we were able to clear up anything that was said versus talking to someone else and then getting their input in it. It always started more issues. But once we came together and we actually talked it out or argued it out, honestly, because that's how we did it in the beginning. We argued everything out. I don't know why I would never tell anybody to do that all the time, but we argued everything out.
I think low-key you just like to argue sometimes.
I think I did at that time. At that time, I think I did. And it kind of forced us to think more deeper between the two of us, because by the time he decided to go off into the military, we were pregnant with our second child, and we were not married yet still. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, it forced me to be like, okay, when he get back, I don't want to be the same woman or girl he met, because I know he's gonna grow up, and I'm gonna have to grow up, and I'm gonna have to not just want everything my way. I want things our way, so that we can both, I guess you'd say, see eye to eye.
Charles, when you saw her again, did you see the difference in her?
Yes, I saw a major difference in her, and of course, it was a growing process too, because when I saw her again, it was 7-8 months later.
7-8 months later.
And we was going to Korea for our first duty station. So when we got back together, I could tell definitely the growth that she undertaken.
You know, one of the things that we always talk about with couples is in the beginning, sometimes we don't have the best examples. I know Renee and I both didn't have a traditional mom and dad at home to display things and show things, and as far as how you should handle things. And you guys sound like you kind of adapted to your situation, even though you guys had parents there with you, but you recognize that you didn't want to do it the same way. How important would you say it is to, Kaleka, if you can answer that, start out, and Charles, you can piggyback on it, for a couple that is just starting out, when they have other voices in the mix of their relationship, to actually give them that advice that they want to accept and assimilate into their relationship? What would you say to those people about how important it is for you and Charles to be on the same page?
It's very important, because I guess something that I've learned over the years is when we got married, it was becoming one. And it's very hard to become one if you're not willing to work together. Like, you have to be a team player, which means I got to care about your feelings, you got to care about my feelings, and we have to figure out how we're going to care about each other's feelings together and work through it together. We were definitely forced in the beginning, only because of the fact that we started out as friends, so we was forced to care about each other's feelings and be more considerate and be more mindful. So this is what I'm going to allow. This is what I'm not going to allow. This is what you're going to allow. This is not what I'm going to allow. Now let's figure out how we can map it out. It's very important to be on one accord in a relationship, because anybody can come in and mess that up. Anybody.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. Being on one accord for us has always been spiritual. Like, every time we lose our connection with God, we lose our connection together. Mm-hmm. It never fails. That's why I said, if you go back to the beginning of us, it was always the church. Like, we didn't always want to be there, but God always saw our heart. So because he saw our heart, we was able to see each other's heart.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When we did incorporate God in our relationship, it's like things just were so much smoother, and we were just always on the same page.
So would you say, looking back on it, do you think that, because I think sometimes, like for us, we're Christian parents. We didn't grow up in a Christian home, and we've tried to model Christ-like behavior. Do you think, looking back on it, that some of the things that your parents were trying to share with you had validity, or was it from a good place? Or do you look back on it and say, there's things I should have listened to? Or where are you guys at with that? How's your relationship with your parents now?
Our relationship with our parents are great now. But to be honest, I would say we emulated what we thought was the best way to put it, I think, is we were rebellious a lot. I feel like we were so rebellious against our own parents that we were gonna try to make this work because we knew it was right. I was always in the church. Like I said, he wasn't in the church, but I was always in the church. So I would pray all the time. I have a journal now that we was reading the other day. I read some of it I want to say like a week ago, maybe even a month ago, we was reading in my journal.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, I used to pray about like, if it's for me to be with him, Lord, don't let me be with him just because I got a child with him. Because, you know, my background, just because I had a child with him, you're going to get married to him, or you're going to put him on child support. That was the only options based off of my background. So I would always say, well, just because I have a child, I don't want to get married, but I do want you to guide the relationship. And my mom would always tell me to pray about it, even though she didn't believe that we were going to be together a long period of time. She definitely was like, pray about it. So some of her stuff, I will definitely say, yes, it helped me a lot in our relationship.
How about you, Charles? What was that like for you as far as similar question with your parents and the influences that they played on you?
My parents were biased. They were always on my side for the most part. They meant well. They really did. They meant well in a lot of stuff they did. But I got the feel like, looking back at it now, I was blind to it then, but looking back at it now, I can honestly say the advice that they were giving me was basically look out for myself. Mm-hmm. Don't get hurt by this, or don't get trapped, or don't don't get yourself in no type of predicament.
Yeah.
Cross my T's, dot my I's type of thing. But the thing is with me that my parents didn't realize, I'm like, okay, you can give me this advice, but end of the day, I'm gonna go with my gut feeling.
And it's good that, like you said, you guys have, your relationship with your parents is good. And I'm sure that, because you guys have been married now for how long?
10 years. Well, 10 years in January.
Yeah, going on 10.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yay. And so the people who probably didn't think you guys would make it, that's what people say, I never thought you would have made it. It's funny how, I love how you guys said you guys had to listen to, what you guys both wanted and learn to communicate. What would be, you said initially your go-to form of communication was arguing. What helped you guys learn to communicate in a different way versus arguing?
I think me growing up first. Just to be honest, I feel like me growing up first, because he'll tell you all the time he think I just wanted to argue back then, and I can't detest it right now because I don't know for sure, because I done grew.
I know for sure.
But I will say I did always want to be right. I was so used to always being right that when we argued, I would always argue why I was right. So anything after that was just wrong. Now I'm more open to being like, okay, I'm not always, well, even if I am right, it does not matter that I'm right because of the simple fact that it matters. He might also be right. It's not crazy that we're both right. We could both be right. We can agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. Or understanding that maybe I am wrong. And the way I handled it was not the right way to handle it, because one of us had to grow. And if one of us didn't grow, then I don't think we would have really made it. Because once I grew, he grew as well, but we didn't know that we had grown until we got back together.
Well, I'm not trying to start an argument now, but Charles, do you agree with all that?
I agree with it. She grew, when it came to the argument phase, she definitely took the high road before I did. I was more still kind of on that. Well, not kind of. I was on that thing like, well, I'm right. Let me show you why I'm right. And then you tell me I'm wrong. Nah, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. I wouldn't say never. I think that's taking too far. But
I'm just kidding.
But I would say to me, it really did take her. I give her all the credit for that, because it really took her to take the high road. And then I started realizing okay, she's always taking the high road. I can't always just take the low road every single time. I got to go up high. I got to go up high. She go up high. I got to go up high.
Right.
That's good. Make each other better.
Yeah, exactly. We really did. And not to say in the beginning it was, I know we said hey, we had to take it our way, but the arguments that we had in the beginning were necessary. We literally both had big egos. Mm. We both always wanted to be right. We both would, when I say we butt heads, y'all, we butt heads. We when we were arguing, but when we were good, we were good. So it was a lot that we had to grow on for each other. And definitely. Then like once I was like, oh, he's growing. I can't stay here. Like he was saying, like, oh, I can't stay here. You're getting higher. I can't stay low because that's not going to help. And I'm not going to be able to understand you when you grow. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that was something that like we pushed each other to do.
And that's interesting because as you guys sound like you grew at the same time you were growing together, which is a great thing to do. And a lot of couples don't get that opportunity. One of the things we always like to ask as we come into near the end of our episode is now looking back on it, you guys, you just said you get ready to hit the 10-year mark. What advice would you give your younger self based on what you know now? And I'll start with Kaleka. You can answer that first. And then Charles, you answer it.
Younger me.
That's a good one.
I give advice to younger me?
What you gonna say to younger Kaleka?
Or Charles, you can jump in there while she's pondering it.
Oh man!
Look at y'all.
The first advice I would give myself is stick with your gut, your first instinct, because at that time I tend to second guess myself a lot on just daily decisions, just decisions with how I should respond for certain things, just for life. And looking back on it now, I think I would tell my younger self, just, hey, go with your first instinct, because usually like the first instinct later on down the line, I see, well, that was the best. That was the thing I originally wanted to do. I just didn't act on it.
For me, younger me, thinking on younger me.
That rain soaked girl coming from the club.
Be more open. Be way more open than what I was, because I was very closed off. Yeah, be more open. My when we first started, the biggest issue was I didn't want to open up. So opening up with him, I feel like at least a little bit more earlier would have like lessened some of the blows that happened as time went on.
That's beautiful.
I think that's what it would be.
That's beautiful.
It would definitely be that.
Be open and follow your gut.
So I have a question I want to ask.
Yay.
Something that right now with everybody being confined to home, what is something you would recommend couples do together that helps them to have fun?
Right now, board games.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Is that y'all thing?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Is that y'all thing, the board games?
Yes. And I guess that was like more too specific to just us. Maybe for others, find something that you both like,
right,
and take time out and do it.
Yeah. But it's good that's yours. It's good that you share what you do, because some people may not have an idea. So a board game, they may have never thought of doing that. So that's good you share what you guys do.
Yeah, and do something allows you to interact.
Yeah.
In whatever you're doing, not just watching TV or just something that where you just become mindless. Because my thing was, for a good while, I considered watching TV spending time.
Right.
And Kaleka, she'll look at me like, watching TV ain't no spend time.
Because you don't have to think to watch TV.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to communicate or engage or...
Yeah,
right.
But I'm like, no, but we're in the same room. I'm holding your hand. See,
well, you're sleeping when you spend time too.
Well, we had most of our issues. Like the beginning of our relationship was like very adventurous. But like, I want to say probably the 7-year till about the 9th year was probably us being like, whoa, we done grew again. Now we got to get
we done changed up again.
Yeah, so like,
and you're going to change all the time.
We like taking walks.
We like taking walks. Just simple things. Doesn't have to be anything like crazy. We have a park up the street. Yeah, and just talk. I mean, conversation is never a bad thing. It never gets old. Always converse.
Yeah, it never goes out of style.
Nope, it doesn't.
So I know you guys, we talked a little bit before the episode, and you guys, we've done seen y'all out on the YouTube and doing your podcast a little bit. What are you guys doing now? So if some of the couples want to reach out to you guys and see what the Davises are doing, how can they reach out to you guys and tell us a little bit about what you guys got going on? Well,
we have a Davis thing on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. AHDVDAVISTHANG on all social media, and we basically we just talk about different topics for couples. I mean, a lot of a lot of couples get together, especially our generation, they get together, they think they want to be married just because it's the hype now, and they get so excited about the wedding but forget about the work that has to be put in.
Yes.
And we really talk about those things before the marriage and while the beginning of the marriage, because a lot of people don't get that. And I also, like I was saying before, like we have hit that mark where we are hitting 10 years. So we understand that 7-year change that happens as well. So we talk about that. So you can always catch us on Facebook, because we do a lot of Facebook Lives, and we have a podcast.
Well, that is wonderful.
Also a Davis thing on all major platforms.
That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you guys just spending some time with us and sharing some of your
sharing
stories.
for the millennials. So all the shout out to all the millennials.
Yay.
Y'all were represented.
I hope we represented y'all well.
You did. Thanks, you guys. Thanks again.
All right.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys. Remember, we are stronger together.
Let's grow.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for your investment in time. Remember to subscribe to the show and hit the notification icon to be notified when new episodes are posted on the podcast platform that you're listening from.
Or you can always find us on our website at richrelationshipsus.com or our YouTube channel, Rich Relationships with Gil and Renee. If you found this podcast helpful or you think it could help someone that you know and care about, please pass it along and share it with them.
And also, you can always send your questions and comments to richrelationships.us@gmail.com. This is a weekly podcast, and the new episodes are going to be posted on Monday by 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Remember, we're stronger together.
Let's grow.